Okay, so in today's video, we are going to now talk about the length of arcs and how to find that. Now, we already talked last time about the measure of arcs, and let's do a really quick review of that. Okay, so if you've got an angle here that is, let's say, 120 degrees, that means that this arc AB, the measure of arc AB, is also 120 degrees. Essentially, the angle is just the measure of how far around the circle you're going. So I'm going to label the center. I'm going to call it C again. And I'm going to say that the circumference of the circle is, I don't know, let's say 20 feet. Okay? So it's 20 feet all the way around the circle. I don't think this should be too terribly, horribly difficult for you. If I was to cut this circle in half, okay? If I was to cut this circle in half and ask you how long this distance is here, how long is this distance that only goes halfway around the circle? And I'm pretty sure you've already got the answer in your head right now, yes? How long, if the whole circle is 20 feet around, how far is it halfway around? Well, hopefully you got 10 feet. And you got that by taking 20 feet and dividing it by 2. Or more accurately, by taking that 20 feet and multiplying it by 1/2. Remember, you're in integrated math now. You have to remember that dividing by 2 and multiplying by 1/2 are the same thing, right? And again, think of the way that we talk about it. We are talking about half of the circle. Half of, remember that word of means times, the circle's circumference is 10 feet. Okay? So hopefully I haven't lost anybody yet. Let's take another look. What if instead of having half of the circle, I only have a 90 degree, I only have a 90 degree slice. Now I'm looking at this arc here only. Now, what is this distance? 1/4 of the way around. Well, I hope that if you're looking for 1/4 of the circumference, you could take 1/4 of the circumference. But 1/4 times 20, that's 5. It's the same thing as 20 divided by 4. So to find the arc length, we are essentially taking the fraction of a circle that we have, right? And we're multiplying it by the full circumference of the circle. And that's the arc length. Okay? And this right here is important because when we generalize this and we start looking at degrees, this will make it a lot easier. I want you to remember that arc length is fraction of the circle times circumference, okay? If you know you have half a circle, then you take the circumference and you cut it in half. If you know you have 7/10 of a circle, then you would take the circumference and multiply it by 7/10, by 7/10, by 0.7. Okay, I'm going to draw a different circle so that we can use a different example. So now, let's say we have a circle whose, let's say its circumference is 10 meters. We're going to go back and forth between feet and meters. And let's say we've got a slice of this circle that is 60 degrees. And we want to know what this length is right here. Okay? Well, once again, the arc length is the ratio times the circumference. The arc is the ratio of how much of a circle you have times the circumference of the circle. So we already know the circumference. That's 10 meters. So now we just need to know this ratio. Well, this angle is a 60-degree angle. From earlier videos and earlier exercises, you should know that that also means that this arc is a 60-degree arc. And think about this. If the whole circle has 360 degrees in it, and our arc has 60 degrees in them, or in it, what fraction of the circle are we looking for, or are we looking at? Well, when you're coming up with these fractions, these ratios, you take the amount that you have, 60 degrees, and you divide it by the total amount of whatever it is, in this case, 360 degrees. And just like we did before, just like we did with cutting the first circle in half or cutting the first circle into a quarter, we're just going to take these two values and we're going to multiply them. And remember, of course, that this 10 is 10 over 1. $60 divided by 360, well, let's see. Both of them are divisible by 10, making it 6 over 36. 6 and 36 are both divisible by 6, so that's 1 over 6. So we end up with 1 over 6 times 10 over 1. That gives us 10 over 6, right? Always remember, when you're multiplying fractions, you go straight across the top. 1 times 10 is 10. Straight across the bottom, 6 times 1 is 6. They're both even numbers, so I can divide them both by 2. I get 5 over 3 meters. Okay, so again, you already know how to do all the pieces of this. You already know that to find 1/4 of the circumference of a circle, you take the circumference and you divide it by 4, or you multiply it by 1/4. Those are the same thing. You already know that. You already know that if I wanted to know like what percentage of the circle that I've got, I would take the number of degrees I have, which is 60, and I would divide it by the total number of degrees, which is 360. So just take those two ideas that you already know and literally multiply them together. So I'm going to say that the circumference of this circle is 24 pi, 24 times pi. There's a reason for that. In the next video, we will remind each other of what pi is and where it comes from and why it's used to find the circumference of a circle. I want to find the length of the arc not on this side. No. I want to find the length of the arc on the other side of that 150-degree angle. Okay? So I'd like you to pause the video, do this one example, see what you can do. Ready, set, go. Now, there are a couple of steps to this. The first thing you need to do is figure out what this angle is, because we're not interested in this side. Well, again, we know that an entire circle is 360 degrees, so this angle here must be 360 minus 150, which is 210 degrees. Okay, how much of a circle are we looking at? Well, we have 210 degrees out of a total of 360 degrees. That's our ratio, that's our proportion, that's how much of a circle we have. And we multiply that by the circumference, which is 24 pi. And since we're dealing with fractions, that will make it 24 pi over 1. Hey Google, reduce 210 over 360.
Here is information from online calculator.
I'm so lazy. So I got 7 over 12 times 24 pi. I used a calculator to get from here to here. More accurately, I asked Google. Let's see, we're still over 1. Oh, hey, look, these are both divisible by 12. So I get a 1 on the bottom and a 2 on the top. The answer is 14 pi. So again, really fast double review. Step 1, figure out how much of the circle do you have. You find that by taking your arc measure, your central angle, and dividing it by 360 to get the fraction of a circle you're working with. Then you multiply that by the circumference of the circle to find the length of the arc you're interested in. Now, in the next video, we will go into what happens if you don't know the circumference of the circle. You have already learned how to do this, I promise, but it's been a little while, and I will refresh your memory on the formula of how to find the circumference of a circle. Until then, have a good one. See you next time. Class dismissed.